Hello everybody, and welcome to our Week 4 match of the WCBL versus AwesomeTorterra's, coach of the Nottingham Forretress. Now, if I remember to put his team up on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see he not only has the scariest team in the entire league, but he is currently undefeated and has been unanimously #1 in power rankings for the first 3 weeks. So, yeah. Also, I've been prepping extensively, even after this video goes up, I'm still prepping extensively for my semi-final match, versus Kirk. So, I don't want to say I didn't have as much time to prep this week, but, I had a little help from Cameron prepping for this week. Like, he gave me the idea for Zygarde right here. Otherwise, everything else is completely all me. And so, there's obviously, like, I did not have anybody to consult with, and really think over some of these sets. Which I really should have. I really should have consulted somebody before going into this match, because I built what I thought was best. But of course, I'm going up against an undefeated team with every scary thing in the book. So I really should have consulted somebody in prep. But either way, this is what we are going into the match with. We have, like I said, Cameron came up with the idea for this set. Choice Scarf, Zygarde 10% with 1,000 Arrows, Outrage, Crunch, and Rock Slide. And we are max attack adamant. We speed creep Miltank. I believe we speed creep Miltank. That looks about right. Yeah, that looks about right. We speed creep... Oh, no. We're not speed creeping Miltank because we're Scarfed. We are speed creeping Choice Scarf Kyurem Black. That's what we are speed creeping. We're speed creeping Scarf Kyurem Black. I do think Kyurem Black would come to this match. Next, we have Insect Queen, our Galvantula, Focus Sash with Hidden Power Fire to give me something to hit the Scizor. Sticky Web, Thunder, Bug Buzz, and I'm max speed. HP Fire, 2-hit KO Scizor. Thunder is just all around nice, hard-hitting move. Bug Buzz hits stuff like the Uxie and bigger tanks like that. And overall, getting my webs up I think is valuable, because you'll see with my second sweeper that I have later, my second win condition, pretty much. So next we have Monster Reborn, our Alolan, I still can't pronounce it correctly. Leftovers with Wish, Toxic Scald, Protect, and we are max physical defense. What this allows us to do is to eat hits from the Scizor, and then eat anything that's not a Fusion Bolt from the Kyurem B. So, and then also stuff from, say, the Crook. We can switch in very easily on that. We can switch in very easily. Like, even though I'm max defense, because of my HP investment, I switch in fairly easily on the Rotom Heat. He has to be very high special attack to 2-hit KO me. I believe he might have to be... No, I don't think he has to be max, but he has to be very high special attack. He has to be offensive Rotom to 2-hit KO me with Volt Switch. And so this thing also obviously goes up against the Starmie fairly easily. This thing just walls Miltank. And this thing also, with my investment, this thing beats Lucha, because I can Toxic Lucha, I can keep wishing, because I am max physical defense, Lucha, I believe, does not 2-hit KO me. Unboosted, it does not 2-hit KO me. I can Scald Lucha to try and burn it. Like, this thing is my Lucha answer. This thing is my Lucha answer. Like I said, unboosted, I don't get 2-hit KO'd. Scald can burn. Toxic if it's set up, which I'm going to really try really hard not to let it get set up. And then we have Wish and Regenerating and stuff, and the classical little mole stuff. Next we have Mirror Wall, our Chansey with a Violite. I did remember a Violite this time. Flamethrower, Soft Boiled, Heal Bell, Toxic. Flamethrower allows us to hit the Scizor. I mean, even with 35 special attack, we do about 40-ish% to the Scizor. But the fact that Scizor is the only thing that this thing can't just completely wall. Kyurem, if Kyurem with a Z move plus a regular attack does knock out our Chansey, but that's why I have Alomomola. And so Flamethrower allows us to at least do something to the Scizor, and so we can win most 1v1s. Next up we have Tomb World, our Ferrothorn, Akaberry. I'm running Akaberry over Chople. I had Chople on this thing for the longest time, and then at last minute I switched it to Aka because Chople allowed me to only take 30 to 40% from a Hawlucha high jump kick, unboosted, and then Iron Barbs. And as you can see, our EV spread is very weird. This is what our EV spread is for. With Akaberry, we don't get knocked out by 2 HP fires from Kyurem. I believe it's Kyurem. It's either Kyurem or Coco. 2 HP fires does not knock us out because the first one gets eaten by the Aka. We are 88 in attack, so that when Hawlucha comes in, it takes Stealth Rock. I do plan on having rocks up for this match. That's very important. Once I have my rocks up, Hawlucha comes in on rocks. It takes 25%. Then, when it high jump kicks me, because without Chople, it still doesn't knock me out from full with a high jump kick. Obviously unboosted. It doesn't knock me out with a high jump kick from full. So, with 88 attack EVs, Hawlucha comes in, takes rocks damage. Then, when it high jump kicks me, it takes 12% from Iron Barbs. Then, with 88 attack EVs, Gyro Ball guaranteed knocks it out from there. I've gotten swept by Hawlucha twice in the past. I'm not getting swept by Hawlucha again. Even the stuff that Hawlucha easily comes in on, I have stuff for the Lucha, like Alomomola. Chansey, I guess, is the only one that can't truly deal with Lucha. As our moves, we have Gyro Ball, Leech Seed, Toxic, and Stealth Rock. His only Leech Seed switch-in is his Gourgeist, and when prepping, I honestly did not see the Gourgeist coming. I have Galvantula, I have Mega Houndoom. How much more of a Gourgeist counter do you need than Mega Houndoom? I have other stuff, like I've run fire coverage on my Deoxys. I have, like, Blastoise gets ice coverage. I have a Mimikyu. Mimikyu beats Gourgeist if Mimikyu's undamaged. So yeah, I was fairly confident that Gorgeist wasn't coming. And finally, we have Dark Necrofear, our Mimikyu, Ghostinium Z, Swords Dance, Play Rough, Shadow Claw, Drain Punch. We were running enough speed to outspeed Uxie. And then, Ghostinium's... Okay, if I'm at +2, Ghostinium Z plus a Shadow Claw knocks out Scizor. Drain Punch is just for the Miltank. And then Play Rough actually runs through a lot of his team. In order for Mimikyu to try and sweep, I need damage on the Rotom. I possibly need damage on the Uxie, depending on his set. And I do need I'd like to have a little bit on the Scizor. But Lucha, you know, we get rid of with a Play Rough. My original set was Wide Lens because I didn't want to miss a Play Rough. But I realized if I was Wide Lens, I couldn't beat Scizor. I could not beat Scizor no matter what. And Scizor was very, very problematic in this matchup. So you may be looking at my team and you're asking, if you're so concerned about Scizor, why did you not bring Mega Houndoom? Because if you look at his team, besides Scizor and Uxie, what else does Houndoom deal with? I mean, Koko outspeeds it and Mega Houndoom is not very bulky, so Koko outspeeds it and straight up OHKOs it. Kyurem straight up OHKOs it, and Kyurem takes its attacks neutral because it's part dragon, not just ice. So I'm not knocking out the Kyurem. Scarf Crook is very, very usable by him in this matchup. Scarf Crook, depending on his set, can do a lot of work. So Scarf Crook comes in and just, you know, gets rid of my Houndoom. Basically, I'm expecting him, because Scizor is very important to his team, and Uxie. I know how threatening Uxie is. And if he does end up bringing Gorgeist, he's going to make his team specifically to have a lot of things to beat Mega Houndoom. And the only thing that Houndoom really beat was the Scizor and the Uxie a little bit. Like, Thick Fat Miltank, it was definitely a possibility that he could bring. Bulky Garbodor, he could very well bring, and that walls Mega Houndoom. There's just, plus the Starmie. Starmie speed ties with Mega Houndoom, and I have no way to boost Mega Houndoom's speed outside of putting up webs. Going back to webs, I have webs on Galvantula to try and make it to where Mimikyu can win, because then Tapu Koko comes in and it obviously loses speed. If he Scarf Kyurem, that thing comes in and basically gets rid of its Scarf, which it's 95 speed, we're 96 speed. We outspeed Kyurem if webs are up. So Rock's really important, webs are really important. And that I did give my reasoning why I did not bring Mega Houndoom. So let's go into... So as you can see, he decided to bring his Tapu Koko, his Lucha, his Rotom, his Scizor, his Gorgeist, which, like I said, I didn't think he would bring, and then his Starmie. So, big thing, no Kyurem Black. I prepped extensively for Kyurem Black, like Zygarde is made to outspeed Scarf Kyurem Black. Zygarde beats his Kyurem Black. Chansey walls his Kyurem if it's not Z-move. Ferrothorn straight up walls his Kyurem even if it's Z-move. Ferrothorn just walls all of it. I think that's it for what I want to say beforehand. So let's get into the match. So he leads with his Rotom. I figured he would lead with his Rotom to try and get a Volt Switch, just to see what I would do. I lead with my Chansey because it takes a Volt Switch from this thing best. And he does end up going for the Volt Switch. Like I said, minimal damage. And I decided to Toxic because Toxic covered everything but the Scizor. And I thought that, like, I had flamethrower for Scizor, so I wasn't worried. Just going for the toxic. So he Mega Evolves, and he knocks off. And, this was a small misplay, letting my Violet get knocked off, in order for damage on the Scizor, because my plan was to come back to, for some reason I just brain farted, and like, maybe I just forgot, I forgot something, but like, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did that. But either way, oh yeah. Okay, now I know why I did that. I flamethrowered so that it would force him to go for the roost, so then I could switch out into my Galvantula. I got a free switch into my Galvantula. I didn't have to give up my Sash, so I could go for the HP Fire. So I just decided to Thunder, guessing that he would probably switch out because I switched in Galvantula and Scream HP Fire. So I switch back out into my Chansey. Chansey's my best thing to wall this thing. And so we eat that overheat. And I go out into my Alomomola. I felt confident going out into my Alomomola because he overheated. He is at -2 special attack. Volt Switch is not doing much to me at all. He goes out into his Tapu Koko. I go out into my Ferrothorn. He Volt Switches. Goes into his Rotom. Rotom still knocks me out through the Akaberry, so I have to go into Alomomola. And that overheat miss was absolutely huge. Because we're in Alomomola. We freaking eat an overheat. And because he missed it, he doesn't get the -2. So that we only take, like, we took, like, what, upper 20s from a Volt Switch? Yeah, we took 28 from a -2 Volt Switch. So now I just basically have to eat this Volt Switch and wish up. And knowing he would probably go for an electric move, I just have to protect, and I have to wish up. And depending on his spread, I actually live some moves. Which is why I decided to try and go for the Toxic. However, he does reveal the Taunt, which is very, very nice prep on his part. So I switch out into my Ferrothorn, and he goes to the Volt Switch, and he goes out into his Rotom, and it's just this endless cycle of him just Volt Switching, and I need a free switch into something in order to generate some momentum on my side, because I'm not getting any momentum this way. He has all the momentum just being able to Volt Switch. So he goes to the Wild Charge, knocks me down to 1%, and boom, that is what I needed. He knocks me down to 1%, but he does gigantic damage to himself, and unless he has Roost, which I do not see Kokos run Roost very often, he cannot heal himself back up. So most likely any damage on this Koko is permanent. So he just decides to get Dazzling Gleam, covering the Zygarde switch. That's fine. Like I said, I needed a switch into something. So I go into my Ferrothorn. He goes for the Volt Switch and goes out into his Rotom. And so I decided to get up my Rocks because I knew he would Volt Switch, go out into his Rotom. He's done it like 1 or 2 times already. So I know I want to get my Rocks up because I need to start punishing this Rotom switch. So what he's probably going to do here is he's probably going to go for the Defog. So I predict that. He goes to Defog, and that allows me to go for the Toxic. Here's the thing. This was my thought process on that turn. I decided to go for Toxic because if he overheated, he killed my Ferrothorn, which was my Rock Setter, but Rocks were up on his side. And then I instantly go Zygarde here on this next turn, and he's forced to switch, and then he has to bring in his Rotom again on Rocks. So So I was fully comfortable, because I pretty much figured he wouldn't overheat because he needs these rocks gone in order to pivot his Rotom around. So I go out into my Alomomola to eat this overheat. Boom, there he goes down. The -2 special attack. And we eat Volt Switches. He goes Starmie. I wish. And him going Starmie pretty much screams Thunderbolt. So I go to my Pharaoh, and he pulls out the trick. He takes my Aqua Berry, and he gives me a Choice Scarf onto my Ferrothorn. I'm glad that that wasn't my Aloe, because that would have ended the game if my Aloe got scarfed. But what this does is it cripples my Ferrothorn's Gyro Ball. So Gyro Ball no longer I think it might still 2-hit KO the Coco. I don't know. I calced it during the match, but I forget the calc off the top of my head. So hey, but the thing is that this Starmie has an Aqua Berry that it doesn't get to use. So now Ferrothorn's at full health, but I get to pick one move, and I pick Stealth Rock. So I get my rocks up. Knowing he's probably going to defog, I go into my Zygarde. On the Volt Switch, he did not choose to defog. Zygarde covered all my options. It ate an overheat. It is immune to a Volt Switch. And it's clearly the best thing if he wants to go for the defog. And plus, it forces him to switch. So now he's slowly, gradually getting worse and worse in this Rotom. Alright, he reveals that I'm Scarfed. I go for the 1,000 Arrows. And now I know that Gourgeist is his designated Zygarde switch-in. I could kind of figure that from the beginning. But obviously I have to switch, and I go out into my Ferrothorn. And he reveals the Will-O-Wisp, and so now my Gyro Ball is doing even less. The move that he just showed me, Will-O-Wisp, is very, very... It will come back later. So he goes out into his Scizor, because now I cannot touch his Scizor at all. And I choose to choice myself into Gyro Ball, thinking that he may want to go out into possibly... basically anything else he'd want to go out into. So I have to switch out into my Aloe. And he has defog on Scizor as well. I figured because he already showed knockoff, plus his Rotom was defog, I figured he would be a very, very offensive Scizor, which does a lot of work versus my team. Swords Dance, Mega Scizor is very, very hard for me to deal with. So he knocks off my leftovers, and I Scald to try and burn this thing. He switches out into his Starmie on my Wish. I predicted that he would switch. He goes back into his Rotom. Here comes my Wish. And he goes for the Volt Switch. It does a lot. So that I think I said it during the team builder, but that reveals that he's a very, very offensive Rotom, which I kind of figured. And so I go out into my Ferrothorn, just to basically heal it up. Plus, I get Regenerator on Aloe anyway. Alright, so on this turn, he decides to go into his Hawlucha and try to set up. So I get my, on the Switch, I get my rocks up, and then I go out into my Aloe, because like I said in the team builder, he does not 2-hit KO me unboosted. And I can go right on ahead, and I can try and Toxic this thing. I can Wish. I can Scald. But he actually pulls out the Substitute, which I didn't know that Substitute was a common set. Apparently it is. But the fact that he just set up a sub kind of meant that I just needed to sack something. So I get a Wish up to guarantee myself a switch in into something. and then I just go for damage. I knew that my Scald didn't break the sub, but I knew I was going to get my wish back. So I figured the next Scald would get rid of the sub. That way his sub is down, so I can go into something like Galvantula, knowing that I'm sashed, and be able to knock him out. So he goes for the Drain Punch. It still does about half, and now I get rid of the sub. I'm not ready to lose my Aloe, so I go out into my Galvantula as he sets up another sub. He goes for the Acro, but I am sashed, and so I get rid of the sub. And I allow him to stack my Galvantula because my only other way of beating this is Mimikyu, because he's a substitute variant. So I can't let my Mimikyu's disguise get broken before it comes in, and I couldn't sacrifice anything else because Zygarde can still clean up late game. If his Scizor is below 80... If his Scizor is below... I want to say 80%. Yeah, based on the Scizor spread that I got from calcing the knockoff, Zygarde 2-hit KO'd Scizor with 1,000 arrows if it was less than 80%. So I just needed the Gourgeist and the Starmie. Actually, if the Starmie was weakened enough, I could knock it out anyway. So I just need the Lucha and the Gourgeist gone, and Zygarde kind of just wins. So he goes for another sub, which I figured he'd do. I hit the Play Rough, get rid of that sub. He subs up again. I Play Rough again. And now, knowing that he's probably... What he's doing at this point, I see what he's doing. He's trying to get me to miss Play Rough. So what I decided to do is he's going to sub up here, so I need to hit that Play Rough. And then I need to hit the Play Rough on the following turn when he attacks. So I'm not going to risk 2 misses because I know I've already hit 2 of them. I mean, I know the law of averages doesn't exist, but it feels like I'm going to miss one of the next 2. So he goes for the Acro as I decide to Never-Ending Nightmare. I just pop the Z move because it's a guaranteed accuracy. So I do knock out the Lucha. However, I did burn my Z move, and Mimikyu's disguise is broken. So he goes out into his Scizor. I go out into the Aloe, and he just gets to roost. Because Mimikyu did not do anything to him. He gets to Defog. I get Scald, and I finally burn this thing. He bullet punches. I wish just to heal up something. He bullet punches again. And I really just kind of have no idea what he does in these following turns. He just keeps bullet punching. Like, huh? He's just letting me whittle his Scizor. So I decided to go out into my Ferrothorn. Heal that back up. He defogs again on my Leech Seed this time. Because Leech Seed on top of Burn, it whittles this quicker. And knowing that he would probably go out into his Gourgeist to try and wall it, I go out into my Aloe. So I go on ahead and Toxic the Gourgeist, and he sets up a Leech Seed. I go out into my Pharaoh so that he cannot Leech Seed again. And my Pharaoh pretty much walls this Gourgeist. So he goes back out into the Scizor. I get my rocks up. Go back out into the Aloe. He roosts. Like I said, all I need is the Scizor. I think it's 78 that I need it below. Yeah, because I do 39 min with 1,000 arrows. So I need him to be at least 78. 78% or lower, and Zygarde wins if the Gourgeist is dead and the Starmie's damaged. So he goes out into his Starmie. I wish up. Back into Mimikyu. I basically heal myself back up right here. He goes for the Hydro Pump, takes me... It is a 2-hit KO, but I take this opportunity, and I get the Shadow Claw. Okay, damage on the Starmie. That's done. All I need is the Gourgeist gone, and the Scizor at less than 78%, and I win. Because the Scizor is burned, I can... If I can 2-hit KO the Scizor, I win. Because the Scizor is burned, he can't do very much damage to my Zygarde. He might not even 2-hit KO me. So he goes Gourgeist on the, and there's a couple more exchanges like this. I go for the Leech Seed to try and catch the Scizor. So I go out into my Mimikyu, and he Seed Bombs. So here's the thing. So the Gourgeist is still at 64%. The next one takes it down 12%, I believe. Yeah, 12%. So he's at 52. And so my eyes opened up and I saw the end game. I have Crunch on my Zygarde for this thing. I go Zygarde. I Crunch. I knock out the Gourgeist. I switch back into my Ferrothorn on whatever he sends in. Then, once this, I believe the Scizor was at 82, I believe. The Scizor was at 82. So after one more turn of burn damage, he was in range for my Zygarde. So I am very, very, very close to winning this match. And I go my Zygarde. And then I go to Calc It because I didn't just go for the Crunch right away. I went to this thing to Crunch, and then I remembered something as soon as I sent in Zygarde. This thing has different forms, and based on the picture, I don't have enough experience facing a Gourgeist. I don't know which one it is. My calcs this whole time have been against regular Gourgeist, just the first one that comes up, on Showdown calcs, just regular Gourgeist. Apparently, there's a bulkier one, and the bulkier one does not die to a Crunch. The bulkier one, it doesn't die to a Crunch. So, however, it does die to an Outrage. So, misplay number 1 was going into Zygarde and not calcing it first. Misplay number 2 was clicking Outrage and realizing this thing was physical defense, like very, very physically defensive. And he Will-O-Wisps my Zygarde. And I do end up losing the match right here. The match is over. I can't beat his Scizor. So yeah, I'm forced to go for the Outrage here. He actually didn't even knock me out with the Gleam. He didn't even knock me out with the Gleam. That I was in such a good position. I'm just going for differential at this point. I was in such a good position to win this match. One more turn of burn damage and the Scizor was in range. All I needed was the Gourgeist dead. I could have gone to... The thing was toxic and it had no way to heal itself. I could have just gone Pharaoh and let the Toxic kill this thing. But no. I tried. I played aggressively. Just trying to knock out the Gourgeist. And then not doing calcs and stuff for different forms. And stuff like that. Cost me the game. And so, Yeah, I say it right here. I said after this, I corrected myself. I thought Crunch KO'd without calking. But of course, my calcs were all on regular Gorgeist and not large Gorgeist, which he was physically defensive large Gorgeist. So this one stings. This one stings because this is the _1 team. He's undefeated, and I had a very, very good chance of beating him. And just because of a miscalc, I lose. This one just really stings. Like, I was beating myself up all day after this one, just because I was stupid. And so now we drop to 2-2. I should be 3-1, but I dropped to 2-2. And it just sort of reaffirms what I said in my last video, which was my first 3 matches were all against teams in the bottom half of the standings. So I needed this win not only for confidence in myself, but to sort of establish the image that I can be a top tier coach. Do I think I'm a top tier coach? Absolutely not. But getting off to a 3-1 start would have been phenomenal. So I'm angry at myself in a lot of ways. I'm just angry and disappointed in myself just because of a miscalc. You know, I lose the chance to knock off the undefeated team. So I'm gonna be beating myself up for a while. Our week 9 match, no, not 9. Why did I say 9? My week 5 match is against Ryan and the London Lucarios, who are currently winless. But he hasn't done his week 4 match yet. So I'm gonna prepare for that. Like I said, I've been preparing for my CPL match. But yeah, this one sucks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.